Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's class where we're going to be talking, we're going to be talking about pain. And pain can be a number of different things. And if you see me pausing on this, it's because for whatever reason, the Facebook Live is giving me a little bit of grief and it says trying to reconnect every once in a while. So that's what that is. On this particular camera that I'm looking at now, that one is for our YouTube. So we're trying to connect this correctly. So bear with me. I apologize for any inconsistencies that one might have by watching this. So why am I talking about pain if, as a chiropractor, I don't like pain, right? And by that I mean I don't like that as an objective finding, because it's a very subjective finding. My level 3 pain might be your level 7, right? Take, for instance, somebody who's never broken a bone in their life, right? Has never really had any major traumas, never been in a car accident, but they stubbed their toe. That's probably like an 8 or 9 out of 10 in pain for them, because that's one of the worst pains that they've ever had in their life. Take that and put that with somebody maybe like that is, I don't know, special operations with the military, who has a purple heart with a cluster, meaning they've been combat wounded several times, okay? Their level 10 pain is probably vastly different. So that's why I really don't like pain as a scale for anything, because it is very subjective to that individual and that individual only. Now, here's the truth of the matter. We have to use it. Why? Because insurance loves pain. That's all that insurance really cares about. Yes, they care about some of the functional scales, but nowhere near like I do, okay? So we have a lot of different things that we look at with function. Why function over pain? It's a very good question. You see, if we look at pain, pain is a nerve impulse. So if you go to a doctor and they tell you that pain is all in your head, first of all, they're probably a jerk. But second of all, they're actually accurate. It's how your brain is receiving a signal. So it is interpreting that signal, pain signal, and you relay that as ouch. Now, so it's not false that pain is all in your head. However, how you perceive it versus I perceive it versus, a Green Beret or Marine SOCOM or whatever. All these people, they receive it differently. Navy SEALs receive it differently, right? Because of their experiences. So, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is when we're talking about pain, we're talking about 6% of the information that your brain receives. 6%. Well, receives and sends out. 12% of what it receives. So if we think of the brain as having a sensory and motor, so afferent, efferent pathways, they have sensory, motor, and then there's autonomic. So really it's probably less than 6% when we really look at everything. But when we take the body and say, okay, we have sensory and motor. This is what we learn in, I don't know, probably 9th grade, 10th grade biology. You learn sensory motor, okay? So sensory is half, motor is half, meaning if we take your nervous system, cut it in half, get rid of the motor, now we're only talking about sensory. 12% of sensory pathways deal with pain. Is that a lot? No. That means 88% of your sensory, or roughly 94% of your nervous system, deals with other things. So this is why I do things like muscle testing, okay? So somebody comes in and they have pain in their shoulder. Okay, well, let's see if the joint is functional. So we check the shoulder and we muscle test. And guess what? If the shoulder has an issue, it shows, because the functional test of that shows me symptomology, okay? Might not show pain. Might show pain. I don't care. Does it show functional changes? If it does, then that tells me that it needs to be adjusted or how it needs to be adjusted, okay? So there's a lot that goes into that. That's why we focus much more on the pathways of sensory that are not pain and the pathways of motor that tell us that the problem going from the brain to the body is obstructed, okay? Those are in our muscle testing type things that we do, okay? Now, we can also talk about different types of pain. So there's physical pain, there's psychological pain, there's emotional pain, right? There's a plethora of different types of pain. But when it comes to what I work with, believe it or not, removing and reducing subluxations can help all of those. So think of it this way. You have psychosomatic pain, right? Meaning it is literally in your head, right? You believe that you're in pain even though your body shows no signs of pain, but something's going on and your perception in your brain is showing pain. Well, if the nerve, we'll use this as a nerve, is being compressed on, it's sending a signal of pain, but your function's still there, right? So by adjusting and taking the pressure off of the nerve and allowing that nerve to be free floating as it's supposed to be, can help with psychological pain. It can also help when we move the plates of your skull, whether it be the parietal or the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, all of these different things. It can actually relieve pressures in the brain that puts pressure on the cell bodies of different nerves and can then relieve a lot of things. So think of it this way. If something's being compressed, if nerves are being compressed, it's doing one of two things. It's either hitting the mute button on the TV, or if those of you that are around that are old enough to remember this, it's like flipping to channel 3 when it needed to be on channel 4 and you get static, right? Or you get the blurred channel and you can't quite make it out, right? So that is why your brain may show signs of pain when they're actually are not having pain. And by removing those interferences, by adjusting the subluxated bone and taking the pressure off of the nervous system, it can relieve and alleviate so many different things. So where am I getting at? I'm getting at, yes, pain is the number one reason why people come into our office. And it is the worst marker to tell if you are improving or to tell if you need to be adjusted. Because if that's the case, it's like basing how well you're doing in school on only 6% of your tests or 6% of your attendance, right? That doesn't show you bumpkus. But if we did look at all of your tests, but one, it could give us a really good example of just how well you're actually doing, right? Now in our office, we look at functional scales, we look at pain, we look at a lot of different things so that we're trying to get as much of that nervous system under understanding as possible so that you get the best possible outcomes that we can give you. How do we do that? We do exams every 6 to 8 visits, sometimes a little bit longer for those of us that have been in wellness. We track things, we compare them, we see if you're doing better, doing worse. We give you exercises to do at home, and you better be doing your exercises, all of you out there, okay? Because I'm not giving you these exercises for you to do something. I'm giving you these exercises so that it will help you do the best you possibly can, and so that you don't need me as much as humanly possible. If you're feeling good, is that a good time to get adjusted? I have no pain. Is that a good time to get checked? Absolutely. Because a subluxation that occurs can cause irreversible damage within 7 days. Let me restate that. It only takes about a week for a subluxation to take hold and cause permanent irreversible damage. So that is why I recommend you come in and get checked once a week on average for the rest of your life. Now, if you've got an issue, Well, we got to play catch up to get you to that point. What is the overall recommendations for health for chiropractic? And that is to get checked once at birth and once a week thereafter for life. Okay? Once at birth and once a week thereafter for life. Now, if there's an issue on top of that, then we add those extra visits in. So if you're coming in, you have no pain, no symptoms, your range of motion is perfect, your bilateral scales are perfect, your functional scales that we do are perfect, your orthopedic, neurological, and chiropractic assessment is perfect. Do you still need to get checked? Well, yeah. Do you need to get adjusted? No, but you need to get checked, right? Because we check to see if there's a subluxation. We only adjust if we find said subluxation. Okay? I am not going to adjust people that don't need to be adjusted. In fact, I had a patient Monday, and it is that rare. I don't see them every single day. I had a patient on Monday that, as I'm assessing, they didn't need to have their pelvis adjusted. They didn't need to have their cervical adjusted, but their thoracic and lumbar definitely needed to be adjusted. Okay? It happens. Is it rare? Absolutely it's rare. Why? Because I can't change what you do outside of here. I can only change what happens in here. And I can lead you to change what happens out there, but you got to make the choices. And that particular patient has been watching these spinal workshops, has been applying these spinal workshops, and is noticing a change in their life. And so, you know what? I'm proud of you. Big time. So, what can you do for yourself? Well, the biggest thing, you can get checked, whether you're feeling great, which is one of the best times to get checked, or whether you're feeling crummy, which is the second best time to get checked. When is the next time that you can get checked for a subluxation? Tomorrow, 8 a.m. It's when I open again. So, give me a call, set up an appointment. If you're new to this office, it's going to be a little bit longer of an appointment because we got to figure out how we can help you, right? But if you're an established patient, maybe it's going to be a short re-exam if it's been a minute. Or if you've been in earlier this week, or it's been in just a couple of days since you've been adjusted or checked, absolutely, come on in. If it's been a week, come on in, right? We'll get you on the table, get you checked, see if we need to adjust you. If we need to adjust you, we'll adjust you. If we don't, we'll give you a high five, send you on your way. It's the greatest gift I can give you is to check you to see if you need to be adjusted. So, give us a call. Don't wait until you're in pain because then far too much has gone wrong, right? Come in and see us as soon as possible. And as always, I look forward to seeing you later this week and early next week for your adjustments. Thank you very much and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye-bye.